Hi, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Happiness Delivered. I am delighted to host today, but as we get settled and more people are joining, I'll ask you to just pop into the chat and drop a note telling me or telling us where you're joining from and list one thing that's bringing you joy today. For me, I'm going to put my brand new puppy. And I'm here joining from Vail, Colorado.
Fantastic. Mhm. Are you writing that in, Melissa?
I am. Oh, great. Got San Francisco.
Well, I love everybody. Kind of a cheat is put the chat up on the side during,
Yeah,
and you can. It's just so fun to see everyone. We'll try to answer some questions at the end, but we just please chime in where you're from, anything you want to say, because we love to see it, and it's kind of the joy of doing these webinars and the fantastic people we get to talk to and learn from. But just fun.
absolutely.
We got just real quick: Maryland, Cincinnati, Florida, Baltimore, Michigan, Little Rock, Arkansas, Texas, Virginia. I mean, we're coming all of Chicagoland. All right. Denver, we love
Great.
it. All right. Yes.
Feel free to drop a link to your LinkedIn profile in the chat so you can connect with other people who are also interested in learning about happiness. Okay, we've got people joining still. Again, where you're from and one thing bringing you joy these days. All right, I'll go ahead and get started with introductions. We have the Sugar Wish Chief Executive Officer and co-founder Elisabeth Vezzani joining us from Denver. And we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Sonja Lyubomirsky to us today. She is a professor of psychology at University of California, Riverside. She is a happiness expert. She is the author of The How of Happiness, The Myths of Happiness, and a forthcoming book called How to Feel Loved. And my favorite, she is the author of a weekly newsletter, The Happiness Files. And I'll reference that later in our conversation, but that's a fantastic newsletter. So I'll just start right away with Elisabeth. You and co-founder Leslie Lyon often talk about the fact that you started out to create a gifting company, but you ended up in the happiness business. For me, that's such a powerful statement. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey, Elisabeth?
I can. My co-founder Leslie and I, in the beginning, we were just like, well, let's start. We needed a way to send gifts instantly that were interesting, and we knew we wanted it to feel happy. We knew the whole point of sending a gift was to deliver that feeling, that it wasn't about what you got so much, but how it felt to receive it. So we understood that going in, but not until we started and we got to see everybody showing gratitude to other people, kindness, lifting people up in bad times, just seeing everyone around the country and around the world that when they would send a sugar wish, their heartfelt messages of gratitude and kindness, that we realized, wait, this is much more than about gifting. It's all about delivering happiness in every way we can, and we found that this was all about that. It was all about delivering a feeling, and we wanted to make sure that's the way our employees felt. We wanted to put that to every part of everything we did, that it was about delivering happiness, and having some like webinars like this, and having experts like Sonja, on happiness, and having our companies that work with us and our clients, and customers having access to learning more about happiness. Like, that's so important to us. And also, we are partner of Make-A-Wish. I'm sure those of you who are with us know that Make-A-Wish is our partner, and being able to really deliver much more than gifts, but to grant wishes and to deliver joy to those who need it. So
Thank you.
that's why I'm so excited that Sonja is here today. And I just want to learn every single thing I can. And I too get your newsletter, which I will tell everyone on this call, you have to sign up, because it's just it just gives you tips and things you didn't think about and kind of changes your mindset for the week of things you can do to be a happier person, and who doesn't want that. So
Great. Thank
that,
you.
yeah.
So, Sonja, you are our happiness expert. And so to kick us off, I'm hoping you'll define happiness for us and talk a little bit about the intersection with our overall well-being.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here to talk about happiness, a subject that's really near and dear to my heart and your hearts too, it sounds like, everyone here. But yeah, really we have to start with a definition. So I like to define, and thank you for putting up the slide. I like to define happiness the way that researchers define happiness, which is that it really has two components. And I like to call these two components being happy in your life and being happy with your life. So being happy with your life is basically being satisfied with how things are going, how you're progressing towards your goals. So you're sort of feeling like your life is good. But then the being happy in your life is experiencing positive emotions, and lots of different kinds of positive emotions. You can experience joy or enthusiasm or tranquility, serenity, or pride, affection, curiosity. And so people who are happier experience positive emotions more often. It doesn't mean that they're always experiencing positive emotions. Of course, negative emotions are also important and adaptive during, appropriate times. It's only when negative emotions are chronic or intense, like too intense, that they're really just suffering and they don't really lead to anything good. Anyway, so that's what happiness is. It's sort of positive emotions combined with a sense that you're living a good life.
Great. Thank you. I love kind of that vast list of positive emotions. Happiness is more than just one thing. You listed curiosity, enthusiasm, joy. I love that. Your research talks a lot about the health benefits of happiness. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, and not just health benefits, all kinds of benefits. So some people think that happiness is something that's kind of selfish, like it's sort of like it makes me feel good to be happy. And yeah, let's keep that slide and I'll explain it. But it turns out that happier people are healthier than people who are less happy. Happier people are more creative. They make more money. They are more likely to get married. They have more friends. They're more resilient. Now, the causality goes both directions. They're all directions. But we're pretty confident that the causality also goes sort of from happiness to good things. So happier people, in a sense, are more successful in life. The example here that you showed the slide is actually a study that we do. I do happiness interventions where they're basically clinical trials, but instead of testing a new vaccine, we're testing a happiness strategy. Like it could be like giving someone a gift. So doing acts of kindness, like giving someone a gift, would be like doing acts of kindness. So we find that when you ask people, why don't you try to do more acts of kindness in the next month? So let's say every Monday for the month of July, do 3 acts of kindness that you don't normally do, or give 3 gifts that you don't normally give. People get happier, but they also have health benefits. So here's a study that showed that people who were asked to do acts of kindness for others, as opposed to acts of kindness for themselves. By the way, when you do something nice for yourself, that's also good. It's like self-care, it makes you feel good, but it doesn't necessarily translate into like long-term happiness. So anyway, people who are asked, randomly assigned to do acts of kindness for others, showed changes in their RNA gene expression. So we actually took their blood before and after the intervention. And so they showed changes in their immune cells that were associated with a stronger immune profile. So basically, less pro-inflammatory gene expression. So think like more inflammation is bad. So you want to have less pro-inflammatory gene expression. So that's just one of many studies that shows potential sort of health benefits of like being kinder and becoming happier.
That is amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, I love what you said about acts of kindness to ourselves too. I think we forget that sometimes.
Totally important. And so we use that usually as a comparison condition, but totally important to sort of, sometimes you want to indulge yourself or, give yourself a gift. It's just that we find that gifting others, the happiness lasts longer. So it lasts sort of past the moment. So it's not just in the moment that you feel good, but maybe a week later, a month later, you still feel better. You still feel good.
Great. Great.
Is that
Elizabeth,
one that, like, I know you do studies all the time as a happiness scientist, but is that like, was there one study that like just stood out that you couldn't believe it, or was
Well, this one actually was one that we couldn't believe. We're like, oh my God, this really worked. I think
yeah,
we hoped that it was going to work. We also
yeah.
actually recently did a study where we also took blood from participants and we asked them to act more extroverted. So we're also studying not just doing acts of kindness, but just being more social. It turns out that reaching out to a friend, just chatting with your barista, just having more social interactions is huge for happiness. It's really, really important to sort of be more social. Obviously, not all social interactions go well, but on average, makes you happier. And so we found that people who acted more extroverted relative to people who did something neutral also showed changes in their gene expression. Sort of they showed more antiviral gene expression, less pro-inflammatory gene expression, and more yeah, I guess it was less sort of fight or flight kind of gene expression. So anyway, cool sort of potential biological benefits of also just being social.
that's amazing. So I'm going to jump ahead in my questions because you gave me a perfect segue here. I learned about your kind of three secrets to social connection. And in the human resources world and in the leadership world, we've heard a lot about loneliness, kind of the epidemic of loneliness. So that's the opposite of what you're talking about. And so I'd love for you to tell us about those three secrets to social connection and how we can build those stronger relationships and connections with people.
Yeah, perfect. So important. Again, I guess to back up a little bit, I've been doing these sort of happiness interventions for about 27 years, where we sort of randomly assign people to do something that makes them happier, like doing acts of kindness, socializing, or writing gratitude letters. We've tested lots of happiness strategies. And then after a while, we realized that almost everything that works to make people happier, the reason it works is because it makes them feel more connected to others. So when you write a gratitude letter to your mom or to your best friend, it makes you feel more connected to that person. If you do an act of kindness, it makes you feel more connected to that person that you are gifting or doing something kind for. So anyway, so we've kind of realized that the secret to happiness really is social connection, as you say, kind of the opposite of loneliness, which sounds like a cliche. We sort of landed on a cliche after all these years, but sometimes that's what science, yeah, you sort of have to do the empirical research, the kind of the rigorous empirical research to sort of confirm, to support those quote cliches. There's a reason that they're cliches. Anyway, so I have a new book coming out called How to Feel Loved, and the cover is on that slide. And actually, it's already available for pre-order on Amazon. And so in that book, we talk about a lot of things, but we talk about sort of how to make someone feel loved in a conversation. And so there's three, and this makes you feel more connected to them. And so these are three of the things that we talk about. So first is called the sharing mindset, which is this idea that you really, you know what, actually, I'm going to skip over. I'm going to start with curiosity. So you really have to start with curiosity. So you're talking to someone and, when was the last time, and maybe everyone listening in, like think about the last time you were at a dinner party or a reception or just like some kind of social gathering. When was the last time that someone was so curious about you? Like they just couldn't wait to hear, like you're telling a story or you're answering a question and they just couldn't wait to hear your answer, right? They're just so curious. It's actually not that common, right? It's when you think about it, it's like real genuine curiosity is not that common. It's you can't really fake it. You can kind of tell when someone's sort of faking it, right? So you start by showing curiosity in another person. And that's one of the secrets to connection. And again, you can't fake it. You have to really find something in that person that you're talking to, whether it's your partner or again, or a stranger or a friend, something about them that you're really curious about. And so you ask them questions, you show curiosity, and then the more curiosity you show, the more they'll be able to sort of open up to you and sort of tell you more because they're so excited, right? They're like, they're motivated to open up. And then when they start telling their story, you listen. So listening to learn mindset is the other one. There's all this research on what's called high quality listening. How do you listen well? It's really hard to do. Many of us are, I'm not a great listener, like many of us are not great listeners. We have to really work on it. And so then you're listening, and then that helps the person share. And by sharing, I mean, don't just like say something positive about yourself that impresses. A lot of the time, especially when we're meeting people, think like a first date or a first meeting, like a business meeting, we're trying to impress each other, right? Which is totally normal, totally human. Like we want to impress that we're kind and we're funny and we're intelligent and we're interesting and we're attractive, right? So we're sort of trying to impress each other by kind of showing the other person like the positive parts of ourselves. And that's fine. That's good. Like there's nothing really wrong with it, but you don't really connect when you're trying to impress the other person because you're not really showing them your full self. So the sharing mindset is when you're showing a little bit more of yourself than just like that polished little tip of you, right? And so it might maybe being vulnerable doesn't have to be revealing your deepest secrets or anything like horrible. But again, it's really important to share more of ourselves. A lot of us kind of walk around with walls around us. And so you can't really connect when you have a wall around you.
It's so true. I mean, everyone I gravitate for like self-deprecating or, like in a world where everybody's trying to be so great, the people you want to be around are the ones who let you see their flaws and make fun of themselves or, just share.
Right. They seem more real, more authentic, right?
Right. And then you feel more comfortable not being perfect because, surprise, none of us are. I love it.
I love that each of these three mindsets we can grow and learn and practice these skills. It's not, you don't have to have been a radically curious person your whole life or have been a phenomenal listener your whole life. We can grow in each of these and really increase our ability to connect.
Absolutely. And that's what this book is about, where we talk about exactly what the research says about it, like how, we give lots of advice about how to be a better listener, how to show curiosity, how to share more. Like some people share too much, some people share too little. By the way, sharing is not easy, right? Because you have to share the right amount and the right pace, right? You don't want to like overshare too quickly. So yeah, you're right. It's totally trainable, totally teachable.
I love that. Thanks. You mentioned sharing gratitude, and at Sugar Wish, gratitude drives almost everything we do internally for our customers. Elisabeth, tell us about the importance of gratitude at Sugar Wish.
Sure. So we make sure, like intentionally try to drive gratitude with a lot of things. So for our customers and for people sending Sugar Wishes, we built the gratitude board. And so whenever you send a Sugar Wish, they are able to thank you in real time. And you can go to your gratitude board and see everyone that you sent your Sugar Wishes to, instantly once they get it and they're choosing their favorites, then they send you a message. So this time and time again, our customers tell us is their favorite feature that we've ever built. And everyone loves when, that you send 100 Sugar Wishes and you get 100 messages, and that's fun. And that makes you feel good. And, you sometimes like HR professionals can feel like they can't feel the gratitude in real time. So we wanted to create something that allowed them to do so. Also, just internally as a company, we have a board because, we do everything on Slack. We have people all over the country, and we have Gratitude Friday and encourage people to shout people out and show their gratitude day to day. Even though we call it Gratitude Friday, it gets used more than on Friday. And every meeting we have, we end talking about one person you can show gratitude for in that week. We have weekly meetings with different departments, but we end everyone goes around and someone that showed Sugar Wish values and someone that they're grateful for. So, just trying to reinforce over and over what, how important gratitude is. Also, it's really lovely to see, we have all different Sugar Wishes. We have the birthday Sugar Wish. We have, different categories, cookies, custom, all different, but our appreciation Sugar Wish is always day after day one of our top sellers and what people use the most, because if people are showing gratitude every day all over the world. So it's that always warms our heart.
Great.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have learned, one of the many things I have learned from reading Sonja's newsletter, is that expressing gratitude can be nuanced. Um, it's always the right thing to do, but there's a better way sometimes to express that gratitude. Um, Sonja, can you give us some kind of actionable advice about expressing gratitude based on what you've learned over the years in your research?
Exactly. It is more nuanced. Well, let's just start. First of all, I want to say, Elizabeth, kind of amazing. I don't know if I've heard of a company that sort of incorporates gratitude so much and like so many different levels and everything you're doing. It's so, some people think gratitude is kind of hokey and we hear about it all the time. But it's so, I just want to, guess, remind people how powerful it is. And so just because you hear about it a lot because it's so powerful, right? I just don't want people to kind of get tired of it, be like, oh, there you go again. Oh, we have to do the gratitude. It's kind of like with like my older kids went to a high school where they did a lot of meditation and like a lot of classes. Maybe every class started with like a meditation minute, and they were like, Mom, like, do we have to keep doing these meditations? And it's like the same kind of thing. Like it's really powerful, but when you do it a lot, people get kind of fatigue. Anyway, but I just want to sort of reiterate, like it's powerful because it's so it's so effective, like in making people feel connected, elevated, inspired, happier. So anyway, but how do you express gratitude? I guess I would say the theme of my work is what I call fit, which is you have to find the what fits you, what fits your personality, your goals, your values, sort of your lifestyle, your resources, and it's going to be different for different people. And it's really hard to say like what, like, for you, for Melissa, for Elizabeth, like what kind of gratitude would work best for you. You have to kind of self-experiment. And so some people like enjoy, like I actually like texting, like writing little gratitude texts to people. Sometimes I haven't even talked to them in a while. I'm like, hey, I just want to tell you like how grateful I am for our friendship. And people love, and that there's actually research showing that we underestimate how powerful it is to do something like that. Like we think maybe it'll be a little awkward even, right? But it turns out, people love to get these kinds of message. So I like to send texts. Other people do it very differently, right? You might write a letter. Some people who are artistic, I've heard of people creating like a gratitude collage. They sort of put together like photos or like pictures of things they're grateful for. Some people like to have a journal. Some people like to do it every day. Some people like to do it once a week. We have a study that shows gratitude once a week is more effective than more than once a week. Maybe because more than once a week could be too much, but not necessarily, depending on the person. Anyway, so unfortunately, I can't give you like one answer that's like, this is the way to do it, because it's going to depend on the person. So you have to sort of find what works best for you and the situation. Like some people, when they're stressed out or when they're under sort of adversity, that's when they really use their gratitude practice. And other people kind of do it every day.
Great.
I just want to take a second and express gratitude for this chat board. And then some of the things I've been reading are just phenomenal, and just kind. And I really wish we could just sit here and read every one.
Can I interrupt? Because we actually did a study because we want to see, does reading about other people's gratitude make you happier, right? Because most of the studies are like, if I express gratitude to my friend, and so we absolutely found that, right? So like witnessing gratitude by others, which is what this board is, right? Like when you're reading other people's, it just makes you feel kind of inspired and elevated and moved and touched and connected, right?
All right. I always think like how kind you're there. Like, I love Sugar Wish, or, oh yes, I agree. Or what was it? My mom just turned 101 and lives by gratitude is the attitude. Is that what it said? I've got to bring it. I don't want to get it wrong, but the attitude of gratitude. And she's the happiest person and an inspiration like that. Such a joy to read. I love it. So, okay. So sorry, I just had to stop. All these comments.
Research confirms that. Research confirms that it's a joy to read about other people's gratitude.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. So something else that research has confirmed, as you mentioned, it's kind of all of this research confirmed a cliche. And kindness matters is one of our values at Sugar Wish. And we've all sort of instinctively known that kindness is important, that being kind spreads happiness in multiple directions. It's kind of a win-win. It's that inextricable link between kindness expressed and kindness received that that drives happiness. Elisabeth, tell us why kindness matters, how that came to be a Sugar Wish value, and why kindness matters is so important in our
Well,
organization.
yeah, so our values, you can see the slide, but deliver happiness, you know, that's where we stand. Make it happen, agile, innovative, delight our customers, kindness matters, and making Sugar Wish a special place to be. And why the last two mattered to us, we knew we were a company about delivering happiness. We knew we wanted to delight our customers and, you know, drive everything we do with that. But we wanted everyone to also think about and concentrate on what being kind and hiring people that when you are in the interview, you're like, oh, they're just kind people and I want to be around them. And today, Sonja's newsletter is about kind of happiness is contagious and kindness is contagious. And that's it. Like the more kind people are to each other, if we're a gifting company and we're about delivering happiness and being kind, that has to be one of our values in how we treat each other and how we show up. And again, you can't do it 100% of the time. Some things happen. You can be in a bad mood. You could accidentally not act. Some things have to be done, hard decisions, hard conversations, but trying to lead with kindness and be kind to the individual. Again, nobody's perfect, but we, as an organization, we wanted that to be one of our values and wanted to practice it as much as we could, so that Sugar Wish is a special place to be, because like Sonja said earlier, kind of like happier people are, who's better to deliver happiness than happy people? Like, how can we be a company that is trying to deliver happiness and everybody be miserable? Like that it doesn't make sense. Like it's got to start from within, and we've got to try our best and keep it a value. So we try constantly to make it a part of everything we do. And I wanted to say too, Sonja, you said like, well, the gratitude practice we do. I mean, some of it came from like, we would end a meeting and we'd end on issues. And then you'd leave the meeting and you'd be like, issues. And then we're like, come on, we got to end on a high note. Like in anything we do, we got to end on gratitude. We've got to end realizing how lucky we are all to even be here doing this and working together.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
what's interesting about gratitude is that we thought that maybe it might sometime inspire like envy or jealousy or like social comparison, but it really doesn't. Like, because let's say you ended on everyone talk about like a success you've had,
right.
And that might backfire, right? Because you might feel like, oh well, I wasn't able to do that, or the way, or they're boasting, right? But there's something about saying it in a gratitude framework that just makes you feel kind of uplifted instead of sort of envious or jealous. Doesn't mean that it would never happen, but yeah, anyway, I just think there's something really special and kind of magical about like a gratitude sharing.
Which just gets me thinking, like, even if you're sharing your success, if you frame it in a gratitude, like I was able to achieve that because of Melissa, who came up with Gratitude Fridays, and like all those things, because of our president Jason, who constantly is working to make things better. That's why Sugar Wish is able to be what it is, because and framing
there's a whole
our wonderful team around us makes us look good every day. Yeah.
There's a book by an economist that argues that I think it's mostly about Americans, that Americans tend to not like, they kind of think that their success is due to them, and not like when you think about it, like our success and happiness is due to like all these people that have helped us. Like it's incredible when you actually think about it. But we sort of want to believe that it's really up to us. Like it's really because we are so hardworking and intelligent or whatever. And when you express gratitude in a genuine way, it really it's humbling, right? Because it really makes you realize that your happiness and success is actually due to like all these other people, or not even people. It could be luck. It could be, events that happened, and so I think there's so many reasons that gratitude is important. And one of them is that it's humbling in a really good way. And like, I think we all need to be kind of humbled and like realize that all these other people are contributing to our success and happiness.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we're going to pause to take some questions. And Leanne, our Vice President of Public Relations, who is our behind the scenes moderator here, thank you, Leanne, is going to pull some questions. If you've got a burning question, ask it. We'll do our best to get to them. If not, we'll try to respond to you privately afterwards. But Leanne, if you've seen some questions, or as people add their questions in the chat, if you'll just pick a few, we've got time for 3, maybe even 4 questions for Sonja or Elisabeth or me.
Yeah, sure. We've had a lot of interaction really supporting the messages that we've been talking about. Less questions. There was one about wanting to share Sugar Wish gifts and can we add our logos and brand to products?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I think Angie.
yeah, we love that question, but I'll go. Yes, the answer is yes, you can.
we just have a lot of supporting all the stuff we're talking about. I haven't seen too many questions about.
I see one right here.
Here we go.
How can you inspire more happiness in your organization without spending a lot of money? Our company is in a tough spot right now. Sorry to hear that. So budget is tight, but we could use a morale boost. Sonja, do you?
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for that question, Lisa. Yeah, that's a tough one. But I often say like happiness. So happiness doesn't require money, right? So it's everything we've been talking about today about inspiring, let's say, inspiring people at the company, at your company, any company, to sort of be more kind to each other, to express more gratitude to each other, just to spend more time socializing, really. I think, and socially interacting, supporting each other, that's going to make people happier. And that doesn't involve money. I mean, theoretically, you could have events that sort of promote these things, but and also having leaders that are role models, right? So if you have a leader that shows gratitude a lot, that sort of shows kindness a lot, that shows humility, right? That also I think is really it has sort of ripple down effects. That's also important. So yeah, I mean, I'm not an organizational psychologist, but yeah, I do think some of these are they're kind of like little things that add up that can make people happier. And also the kind of strategies we're talking about are also important during times of adversity, right? Because you think, oh, is happiness just something I should worry about when things are good? No, I mean,
And I do see a question, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is that right? Yeah. In fact, I'll give you a little anecdote. The field that I'm in called positive psychology, which actually I don't really like that term, but yeah, we're well-being science. It started like 98. And then 2001 is when September 11th happened. So a few years into starting the field. And we had all these conversations like, wow, because it was such a hard time for everyone. Like after 9/11, does happiness still matter? And then we concluded, of course it does, even more than before. And in fact, when you look at I know that's kind of an extreme example, but when you look at the emotions that people reported after 9/11, you know what the most common emotion was? It was gratitude.
Oh, wow.
Literally people, express gratitude maybe for, having their families, for anyway. So during times of adversity and stress, actually practicing sort of strategies that make you happier and make your family and colleagues and friends happier is maybe even more important.
And I've seen a couple just like bringing it back to your organizations or companies in harder times. The economy goes up and down. Companies have budget issues from time to time or just stress. But I do think that's when it's even more important to have even in things you could just bring that gratitude Friday, and everybody just on Fridays tells someone in the company they're grateful for. I think that has been wonderful for us, and ending the meetings that way with someone they're grateful for, like your weekly meetings, your monthly meetings, that doesn't cost money. And it is something that just makes everyone feel special and seen. And also just does bring you back to the why you're here and what you're doing and what you're grateful for. So those are 2 really easy ones we do that I think you could bring back to your organization. And obviously with Sugar Wish, we always have like a $25, or we have really low price options of ways just to send an appreciation or a thank you. And they can go in an email or a text and people pick, and it doesn't cost much, but you are able to, that's why we always keep that low price point, that you are able to, just tell someone what they did made a difference. So not to,
yeah, absolutely. So as long as, so we sort of validate, that things are tough and, or stressful, but at the same time, there's, as you say, like there's so many things we can do to appreciate each other, support each other, reach out. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Wonderful. So do you have any, were there others, Leanne?
Well, there's a question that I saw about kids that I kind of wanted to address.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
I think about what the kids sort of having struggle thinking of others and spreading kindness. Okay, so, and as someone who has 4 kids, so I have a lot to say about this. Assuming I understand the question. So, it's kind of a cliche that, like, depending on the ages, but kids tend to be like very self-focused. Also, they tend to be very materialistic, right? They're like, I want this thing, I want this toy or whatever. And so it does take, although they're also, even at a young age, like young ages, studies show that they're also very pro-social too. They help others, like even like a little toddler, if someone drops something, they will immediately, try to pick it up. So we all have that sort of innate tendency of being helpful, but it's also, certain ages, we're kind of self-focused. And when you think about what self-focus is, right? Like self-focus is adaptive at certain times in life. So for example, let's say something hard is happening or you're sad. Sadness makes you focus on yourself, and that actually is adaptive because you're trying to figure out what the problem is that you can solve. Now, it's not adaptive when it's chronic and you're constantly self-focused. And then maybe certain times of development, and I'm not a developmental psychologist, but I can kind of speak, broadly. You kind of need to sort of focus on yourself when you're developing your identity, when you're sort of trying to figure out like who you are and what you want to do with your life. So that's normal kind of developmental, transitions. But I think there are things certainly that parents can do to try to, like to motivate kids to sort of be more focused on others. I think like acts of kindness interventions, actually we've done in all different age groups. They're really very easy to do. Like everyone kind of likes to do acts of kindness for others. We actually did a study with middle school kids who are ages 9 to 11 in Vancouver, Canada. And we asked them to do acts of kindness for others. We asked them to visit 3 places instead of do 3 acts of kindness. And the kids who did acts of kindness for others, which almost all were at home, like they helped their sister with homework. They like swept the floor for their mom or cleaned the kitchen table. When they came back into the classroom, they actually became, quote, more popular. So other kids liked them more. And so there's something that rubs off on you, I think, when you're helping others. Like maybe you just feel happier or more positive or more confident. And so anyways, I do think there are ways to sort of implement different like little activities or challenges, for kids to sort of help each other or help others. I think that they would resonate with that. They would resonate with that.
And it's just funny, the conversation right before we got on the call was talking about children and when somebody's unhappy, like, when you're mom and dad, you're only as happy as your least happy child, right? So how you can turn that around so everyone can feel better and be happy. And I love that, Sonja. I mean, I don't think I've thought of that ever. Like, well, let's have them do something kind for someone else, and that might turn the tide.
Right, they turn the focus off of anything. Like research has shown that anything you can do that turns the focus off of yourself and onto either others or something else. It could be a hobby, right? It could be like learning a new skill or something that tends to make us happier. I think too much self-focus is really one of the most toxic things I think that could happen to us. But again, I said with some caveats, sometimes it's developmentally appropriate to have that self-focus. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm watching some acts of kindness transpire in the chat right now. People are having some awesome dialogue, sharing ideas, offering to connect. I absolutely love it. We've got kindness and connection going in the chat right now. So it's kind of happiness I'm feeling. I was feeling pretty joyful when I logged on, but it's definitely increased for me as we do this. So we've got time for at least one more question. Anything you've seen, Leanne? Anybody have a question they want to pop into the chat right now that we've missed maybe?
There's so many and so many wonderful comments. I'll quickly add the 1450 option for people who do. We have cookie mail, and it's under cookies, and you send one cookie, but you get, it's like sending a card and a cookie. And so you can text someone a cookie, just let him know you're thinking of them. But that's the 1450 option, and then all the minis start at 25, and always includes delivery with everything. So just a Leanne, did you see any other ones?
Just a few questions around team building and bringing happiness into the organization, which I know we touched on a bit, but any ways people can bring to their leadership meetings, to their teams. There's been just a few people sending questions around this.
Melissa, do you
Sure.
have any others than what have been mentioned?
Yeah, I think based on what Sonja is saying and what we know instinctively to be true, those connections really fuel happiness. So finding ways to help people at work connect in a more authentic way with each other, whether it's, at Sugar Wish, we have a channel, Sugar Paws, where people post about their pets. I've seen some adorable dog pictures. We've had a bunny and a duck and all kinds of things. And that those pictures are kind of those glimmers that bring joy, but also seeing people connect over their love of pets, things like that. Sonja, what other ways would you suggest we can facilitate in organizations to help people feel more connected or less lonely?
Yeah. There's some obvious ones, like, just somehow facilitating ways that people are like kind of like literally kind of bumping into each other. I mean, depending on, what the workplace is like, or when everyone's remote, that's harder to do. But the studies show that, like, if you live near a staircase, or if your office is in a place where people tend to pass by, you literally have more friends. And so that those kinds of accidental kind of connections, bumping into each other, or like going to the same coffee shop or whatever, I think is really important. In terms of like Zoom meetings or virtual meetings, I started implementing just kind of sharing with my students. Now, this is interesting because with students, there's often kind of these boundaries, right? Like between students and professors. And I think there's often happens like in organizations, these kinds of rules. And yet, sometimes they prevent you from really getting to know each other. And so I started to have people go around and often at the beginning of a meeting to sort of share like what they're excited about, maybe something that they're stressed out about. Often it's positive. And then I ended up learning all these things about my students or just my team members that I didn't know. And it really helped. Yeah, it really helped me connect with them. Or like one student turns out was really close with her grandmother. Like I just saw a side of her that I just had not seen, at work. Really made me see her in even a more positive way. And so, I think some way, like maybe at meetings where we can, I mean, it's a little bit like when people share gratitude, you learn about them. But sort of, the more, again, it doesn't have to be like vulnerable, like, again, sharing a secret, but just something about them that you wouldn't necessarily know just from your daily interactions.
Yeah.
So we start our meetings with, what do we call it, Melissa?
A kickoff question or a segue question.
And it's exactly what you're saying, Sonja. It doesn't have to be, it could be like, tell us your favorite book that and just going around before you get into things, like always starting with getting to know people just a little bit more. And it is always wonderful to see what people say, and what you have in common or what you don't have in common is super interesting as well.
Yeah, there's a question that I've gone to some workshops, and the question, it sounds hokey, but it kind of works. The question that people ask is, what's alive for you right now? What's alive for you right now? Or whatever, what's on your mind? What are you really thinking? Sometimes people share, really deep things.
Yeah. But you know how that goes when you have it on your mind and then you're like, okay, work. I've got this huge thing and it's like a boulder you're carrying
Yeah.
and then you're trying to stay focused, but sometimes just getting it out there and sharing, then it allows you to move on.
You know what I shared before we started, like I'm having this big passport problem and I have to travel. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And so actually, yeah, like it's so on my mind, and sharing it just before we all started and you guys had some I don't know, tips or support, words of support, like that really helped, because then you're able to sort of focus on the next thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
I just want to say whoever said chocolate equals happiness, they get me. They get me.
Love it.
That's a connection. I have a connection.
I love
for
it.
sure.
I love it. Before we kind of wrap up and get parting words of advice from Sonja, Elisabeth has a giveaway.
Yeah, yay.
To,
so when we do these
announce
webinars, and we're so lucky to get just, Sonja, cannot thank you enough. I always feel like I leave a better person, and we always, we want to give you information, happiness information, things you can bring out into your world and into your life. But we also like to do giveaways at the end of all the webinars. So we want to pick 3 people that we can share Sonja's last book of The Myth of Happiness, right? Or the How Happiness, which
Not the first one, the How
the
Happiness.
How of Happiness. We want to do that. But do remember you can pre-order the new one. But we're going to pick 3 people for that. And we're going to also pick 3 people that we are going to give $100 credit to, so you can send the appreciation sugar wish, to share gratitude. And since we're talking about the importance of it and everything, we want to pick 3 people and put $100 into their account. Don't worry, if you don't have an account, you just can create one and we'll put that credit in there, and it doesn't cost anything, just your name and get on there. So Melissa, if you want to.
So yeah, absolutely.
People that we've
got 3 winners here: Amy Rowland, Lynn Bauer, and Deborah Price. So look for an email from our team with the information about your $100 credit, and to find out where we can send you your book.
Wonderful.
Super, super exciting. So to end us, Sonja, you've given us some really important steps about expressing gratitude, important information about building connections, staying kind. All of us are going to head back to our communities, our work communities, school communities, neighborhoods, families, our teams, whether you're a team of 1 or you've got 1,000 people. What key concepts, what's your parting words for us when we think about our own happiness and the happiness of the people around us? What would you leave us with?
Well, you have that slide up, which is really those 3 mindsets, right? To share, when you're, there's a quote somewhere, something like life is basically a series of conversations. And so when you think about that, most of us connect by talking. Like you can connect through dance or touch or eye contact, right? But most of us are connecting by talking. So when you're having the next conversation, that's kind of my number 1 happiness tip. You open up, right? You sort of share more of yourself than just like the little positive polished part. You listen like you're going to be quizzed on it tomorrow, right? Where you really listen well, as opposed to just like waiting for your turn to speak, which is what most of us are doing. And that's normal. We all do that. And then really be curious, right? Show genuine curiosity. So this, what you're seeing there on that slide is my number 1 happiness tip. And then this newsletter that I have, if you're interested in happiness, basically there's so much information out there on happiness. There's like so many tips out there. Not all of them are really great information. And I've been doing research on happiness for 36 years. I'm co-founded the field of the science of happiness. And so I started this newsletter to kind of cut through the BS, as I kind of call it, and give you tips it's only every 2 weeks, right? And give you tips of like about gratitude, about kindness, about happiness and money, We've had all kinds of topics. And so, yeah, if you're interested, subscribe to the newsletter. And that's there's a QR code there that you can use. And also, I think there was in the chat, there was a link as well. So
and we will also put that in an email to everybody who attended.
awesome. Yeah.
You know, and we'll make sure we get a little code for everybody too, for a discount for Sugar Wish. And we'll also that newsletter. But I highly, everyone here, just sign up for that newsletter. It will change your day every time you get it. It's interesting. It's broken into sections. It's fantastic. If you do one thing, make sure you sign up for that newsletter, and it will really change your every 2 weeks, and kind of like a reset. Like, yes, that's what I'm supposed to be. Yes. Like there was one on parenting. There was one, you know, being around other people who are happy. It's contagious. Like just little things that just kind of change your day a little bit. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I put my LinkedIn profile in the chat early on. If you are interested in learning more about the things we do at Sugar Wish that Elisabeth mentioned, our Gratitude Friday Slack channel, our kickoff questions, the way we wrap up meetings, any of those, feel free to reach out to me directly. I see some familiar HR names here in our chat, and lots of you who I haven't had the pleasure of connecting with. So please do reach out if you're interested. I'm happy to share what we've learned here. So.
And Sonja, I just want to thank you. This was just so lovely. I feel like I've learned so much, and I would love to talk to you all the time, and I want to be your friend.
I want to be your friend. I think you both have a lot of positive energy, and you know that is really, it matters a lot, right? Like we want to hang out with people who are sort of positive and grateful and kind. No, thank you. This has been amazing. I actually was noticing most of the attendees are female, I think, which is interesting. I think that happens a lot where women tend, although I talk to a lot of groups that are where there are a lot of, did you notice that?
It's like, hey.
Not everyone, but Jason, I know everyone's mentioning the same guy, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's lovely. By the way, I love women, and we have amazing friendships with women and talking. But yeah, tell the men in your life too about the happiness research.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Zachary, we see you. All right.
Yeah. Now all the men are like, "Hey, I'm here."
Hey, yeah.
But thank you. It's been lovely to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
everyone.
you. Have
Bye.
a great day, everybody.
Great.
Bye. Well, I don't know.